Let's study about a new chapter called Institutional Representation of Democracy. So this institutional representation of democracy includes universal adult franchise, elections, political parties, and coalition governments. So let's study in detail about these things. Universal adult franchise. Modern democracies now practice universal adult franchise, which means all the adults have right to vote irrespective of their race, sex, religion, economic or social status. So in this image we see universal adult franchise, people voting. Next is elections. So this is the process by which the citizens of a democracy select or choose their representatives. Elected representatives from different parts of the country, they meet in a body called assembly or parliament. Elections are held at regular intervals. Some countries hold them for every 5 years, some for every 4 or 6 years. Then types of elections. General election. These are held once in 5 years, known as general elections. Next is by-election. So members of the parliament or state legislature, if unfortunately they die or they resign, then elections are held in their constituency before the completion of 5 years. This is known as by-election. Next is midterm election. For suppose any reason the president, on the advice of Prime Minister, he dissolves the state assembly, then election will be conducted before 5 years. This is known as midterm election. Requirement for fair elections. Citizens should have only one vote and all votes should carry the same value. And if people have to vote, they should have choices also. Elections should be held regularly and elections should be conducted in an atmosphere free of fear or violence. Next is Election Commission. For the elections to be free and fair, they have to be administered by a neutral, fair and a professional body which treats all the political parties and the candidates equally. So in India, this is done by Election Commission. Election Commission is an independent body which is answerable only to the Parliament. Head of this body is known as Chief Election Commissioner. He is appointed by the President of India. In this image we see the Election Commission of India, also known as Bharat Nirvachan Ayog. Next is electoral constituency. So in India, to make the elections truly representative, each state is divided into small units called constituencies. Constituencies are drawn in such a way that all the constituencies contain same amount of people. Next is election campaign. Election Commission allots symbols for different political parties and candidates hold rallies where they tell the people what the party will do if elected in power. Posters and banners are used to appeal the people to vote for their candidate. Campaigning ends at 6 p.m. 2 days before the election day. Next is the process of election known as polling. On the appointed day, people go to the polling booth which is allotted to them to cast their votes. Nobody except the person who votes knows who he or she has voted for. This is known as secret ballot. In this image we see people holding their voter ID card and standing in a queue for election, for voting. Next is declaration of the results. After the election is over, the job of the Election Commission is to count the votes and announcement of the names of the successful candidates. So here they consider absolute and simple majority. So in a democratic election, candidates win by either absolute majority or by simple majority. Then comes formation of the government. So the party that wins the majority of the seats gets qualified to form the government. The party meets to elect a leader from the successful candidates. This leader becomes the next Prime Minister of India. Political parties. It means a group of people who voluntarily decide to enter the politics and aspire to run the government if elected to power. In this image, we see the different political parties in India. Next is coalition government. If two or more parties join together and stake their claim to form a government, it is known as coalition government. Democracy in India. India is known as the largest democracy in the world, and for the Indian democracy to be stronger, we need the following things. First is responsible citizenship. It is necessary that all the Indian citizens must be educated and aware of the value and importance of their vote. Good leadership. To lead a huge democracy like India, there is a need for strong, good, and honest leaders, people who put their national interests ahead of their personal interests. Next is public opinion. For public opinion to develop, the people should be literate. Tolerance. A democracy which rules the majority should not forget the interests of the minority also. For this to happen, all of us should cultivate the habit of tolerance and learn to respect each other. Next is equality. So democracy rests on two pillars, that is equality and justice.